there are those who are not. There are those who can afford the private teachers at home, and there are these children who have been seated at home. I remember one time I was in Dokolo, and we asked the children, they came and told me, no, we can't understand English. We left those ones 2 years ago. And I'm like, okay. So I said, okay, can I give you a pen and you write your name? That, me, I forgot. You see. So there is that. And then when we come to the girl child, there are those ones who have gotten pregnant. Hey, it's a big number. Yeah. And I just thought, if 100 girls get pregnant, those are 100 people 100 men or boys who are supposed to be in jail.
I didn't see that coming. Okay.
Yes. Every time I see it in my mind, I'm like, I just hope I get like 100 of those ones. They should be in jail. That's how it should be. Then there are those early marriages. Parents who have married off their daughters. So those ones are supposed to be in jail somewhere. So they're supposed to be in jail. Why? Because they are not protecting these children.
They are actually committing criminal.
Yes, they are committing more offenses. So for me, as I see numbers of girls getting pregnant, I keep wondering, are also that same number or more in jail because of the crimes have committed, you know, and then there are those ones of child-to-child sex, and in my head I'm like, have they cancelled those ones? But you see, in Uganda we don't have those counseling services. The probation officers are overwhelmed also. But again, who cares to go to the probation officer to report or ask their child, like, oh, come and counsel, my child has been going through this. I'll give an example. In Kayunga, one of the boys was arrested for defilement. So I meet with this girl. In Kayunga, we handled, our work is mainly like with the state attorney. So I meet with this girl. I ask her, we talk. And she was like, no, I just want him to be cautioned. I'm like, are you sure? Wow. You want him to be cautioned, and then you want to go back to the same group. It needs a mindset. It took me, took us like 3 hours talking to her. And then I told her, so what do you want to become? She
Do you think this relationship, this new direction from France, actually should be taken serious by the Africans?
Definitely. I think if the French were not really engaged and ready to, to create this new paradigm with all the young people in Africa, they wouldn't have invested so much into this whole conversation. I think what is important is really to recognize the fact that France has had a lot of trouble in Africa, given its Francophone territory in West Africa. And then it had also had a lot of disconnection from the Anglophone, the Russophone, and the Spanish-speaking African countries. So when you find the investments that France make in the Francophone Africa are not the same investments or opportunities that are in the Anglophone Africa and the Russophone Africa, when we talk about the Portuguese-speaking African countries like Mozambique and Angola. So they are realizing that, okay, if we have people in Africa, they're not only living in the Francophone African countries, but they're also living in the Anglophone countries. And I think the strategy here, this is my observation, is that it's not that it's going to be a direct government engagement with young people. No, I think that's why they brought in partners like INPay, which is an investment agency. They brought in like AFD, which is the French development agency. They brought in Organization of Institute Francophonie countries. They brought in Institut Français. These are the gatekeepers. These are the people who are going to be dealing with us, the young people. And the conversations were about, okay, what is AFD doing? And for me, it was very interesting to find that we've known AFD as a development agency for France, but investing in big businesses, infrastructure, roads, government, and projects, but they had never thought about the creative industry. And for them to have this conversation, influenced by the French policies on how to engage with the new Africa, and also realizing that their politics has not worked, but the many young people now are taking over in Mali, in Gambia, they are realizing that these young people, they don't know what's going on with them. They need to get to tap into their knowledge and see what's going on in their head so that they can also understand them as well as support them.
COVID-19 has tested our hope and faith as individuals, families, and the country at large. Besides destroying many aspects of our lives, the novel coronavirus has also affected our human rights in many ways. You and the Law, the COVID edition, is a 30-minute weekly television program that focuses on the impact of COVID-19 on human rights in Uganda. The program engages experts to explain the importance of rights-based approaches to the success of any public health response to ensure the respect, protection, and fulfillment of human rights amidst the challenges presented by COVID-19. You and the Law, the television program, brought to you by Legal Hub Uganda, taking the law to the last mile in proud association with I4C Africa Hub and House of Talent Television.
We need everyone in the society to stand up, like to really get together and form a relationship. Doesn't matter the political party or whatever. We need to, religion, we need to first put away differences and come together and say we need to fight. We can't even fight COVID because we don't know much about it. But how do we protect people? Yes, they're saying immunization, but the children can't be immunized. And I was looking at children living with HIV, AIDS. During that lockdown, how were they getting their medication? It was hard. Then there were those children with cancer who were told to go back home. And then it is later that they started trying to get doctors on motorbikes to go and deliver the medication. But see, when there's a break in their medication, it brings more it brings more issues. And no one talked about the children who died during that time because of medication, not having medication in time and what, or who have fallen back in their things. So we need to learn to have a standby. We have to have community, maybe say they're paralegal, paramedics in the communities. And these paramedics should reach out to it should be in every parish, every village, we should have paramedics.
Hello, welcome to yet another episode of You and the Law, the COVID edition here on House of Talent Television. This show is proudly brought to you by Legal Hub Uganda in partnership with I4C Africa Hub. You and the Law is simply what it states. You and the Law, we explain the relationship between human beings, between us people, and the law, because the law guides every aspect of our lives. This particular edition of You and the Law is dedicated to COVID-19. How has COVID-19 affected our human rights? Over the last episodes, we've tackled different human rights that have been affected by the pandemic. Today, we look at children. How has COVID-19 affected children's rights in Uganda? What are the issues that are emerging because of COVID-19? And as far as children are concerned, what do we need to do to protect children in these hard times? With me in studio is Ms. Sarah Awelo, the lead counsel for GBV at the Uganda Christian Lawyers Fraternity. Sarah, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you.
How have you been?
Oh, I'm okay. I've been fine. Well, COVID gave me some rest.
Yes. And in terms of work, because I know a lot of things have changed over the years, how has it affected your work life?
A lot of things have changed, yes. Sometimes you work from home, but being legal, it is hard to fully work from home. So you have court, home, in between. Sometimes you're torn. You see, today we are going to have court online, or we are going to stay from. Then it's hard to meet your clients. You just see them via the video link.
Yeah, it's a crazy time, but hopefully things will normalize. You come from UCLF, the Uganda Christian Lawyers Fraternity. Perhaps for a person who could be hearing this for the first time, you could give us a little bit of more information about the organization that you work for.
Uganda Christian Lawyers Fraternity is a membership organization. It's a legal aid. We provide legal aid to people who could not afford money or any amount of money, especially family, land matters. We also provide legal aid to the children, juvenile justice. So we have all that. Then we also handle GBV, gender-based violence programs, mainly in Kayunga. Yes, so we are those places.
So your services are completely free?
Our services are free.
Oh, interesting. And in terms of the name of the organization, the Christian aspect of it, and somebody could be tempted to ask, are your services restricted to only a particular group of people who subscribe to a particular faith, or it's open?
No. We handle everyone. Everyone. You see, everyone is a child of God. So we handle everyone as a child of God.
Yes.
We believe we are missionaries, and we are doing that by working, helping people in the legal in a legal way. So for us, maybe we may not stand on the street every day to preach, but we shall go to court. We shall fight for people's rights every day.
Okay.
Yes, that's how we shall preach.
I think it's an interesting approach, to missionary work by providing an actual service. And so today we talking about COVID-19 and how it has affected our lives, and we're specifically having conversation around children. But perhaps before we delve into much detail, we could try to understand from you, before we even talk about the law, what is this whole idea of children's rights? Why do they matter? Why should somebody lose sleep over rights of children? What's the value of children's rights?
You see, children are, all of us were once children, and children, let's say it's the future of the nation. Okay, that's how it is sung. Children are the future of the nation. But how do we build a nation with broken children? So we need to protect these children so that we have a strong nation, we have a better future. I think that's why the rights of children have to be protected, so that we may have a better nation in future. Yes.
So children represent, a
nation.
The nation, and from a futuristic, I think it's a very interesting angle to this. But then now we move to talk about children's rights. As you've explained, children are the future of the nation and we should protect them. Is there a law that provides for that, or is that just your wishful thinking? Where do we derive the mandate to talk about children's rights?
The rights of children are protected by our Constitution, the 1995 Constitution as amended. Then we have the Children's Act. Then there are those conventions, the international conventions that Uganda decided to sign and be a part of. We have the 1985 UN Convention on the Rights of Children, and then the 1990 African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Child. So all that are some of the laws that protect children that Uganda ascribes to.
Okay, but in terms of then what exactly do they actually provide for? Like, what are those rights? If you do tell a random person that these are children's rights, what could be examples that we can share?
Well, they have a right to live with their parents or guardians. They have a right to education, a right to practice the religion they know, a right to, yes.
Very important for UCLF.
Yes, very important. A right to shelter, to medication. They have their rights, yes. So,
but then if you move further and talk about those rights, whose duty is it to provide them? Because, there's been a lot of conversations around, in Africa, parenting children is a societal issue, but then you're discussing it from a human rights angle. So who bears the obligation to ensure that actually these rights are protected?
See, in Africa, the children are for the whole village. But okay, currently it's changing. Those days it used to be, I think, the days of our parents. But currently, who protects the children apart from their parents? You know, sometimes even the relatives do not protect them. So we have also the welfare officer, like the government decides to put in place institutions to protect them. For example, the Secretary for Children's Welfare in the local council. We have also the Family and Children's Court where we could run to when their rights are being infringed on. We have the probation and social welfare officers. We have the district probation and social welfare officers. We have all those people to protect. But really the main, it is each of us, all of us as individuals, even the children themselves, they should protect their own rights.
Some people argue that children's rights fall under the broad category of human rights. I mean, there's sort of a subcategory of human rights, and there's this talk about you need to respect, protect, fulfill this right, which is put on the state. I don't know from your experience working this, what does actually respecting children's rights mean in terms from the angle of the government?
Let's say the right to live with your parents. What should the government do to help children to make sure that that right is respected? Parents, one thing government should also do is help the parents have income or have something to provide for these children. Because when they start saying then we have a right to be given proper food, right to clothing, we have medical care and a home, if the parents are sleeping on the streets, then how will these rights be given to them? So I think with the government, it has to start with the parents. The parents should be given the ability or should...
Conducive environment.
A conducive environment to provide and protect the rights of these children.
Okay. And then in terms of the, fulfilling this right, some people argue that, it's important to have, laws, policies in place. I wonder how Uganda is doing in that context, from your experience as a child rights advocate.
Well, we have very good laws. Yes.
On children issues?
On children's issues,
okay.
we have...
Run out through them.
We have the Constitution, the Children's Act, where they give us very good laws toward the rights of children, the obligation, how to ensure that they have proper health, education, mental, physical, and moral development. And our issue is implementing those laws. And then also, do people know those laws? Right now we are talking about the laws, and we are here in Kampala with an upper class talking about it. But what about that mother in Kayunga who has all those issues? She has no idea, maybe even that the children have rights. For her, her work is to see them live every day. I got a saying in my work with the people in Kayunga when they said that children grow anyway. Somehow they will grow.
They will
grow.
Yes.
It's hard. Even our crops don't just grow. You have to weed.
Yes.
What? Yeah, but you see, to them that's their belief. Somehow they will grow.
You've mentioned about the Constitution and talked about the Children's Act. Perhaps we could spend a bit of more time understanding the Children's Act and sort of its provisions on children's rights. What are the salient features that we can, talk about if you're to, tell a random person about these children's rights from the angle of that act?
From the end of the act, a child is a person like below the age of 18.
Oh, by the way, we forgot even to understand that, yes.
A child is a person from that age of 18. And then children's rights mean the basic needs that a child must have to ensure his or her proper growth and development. I look at it, proper growth and development.
Proper growth and development.
It's relative. That's relative. Because and a child will say, for me to have proper growth and development, I need Cerelac. The other one will get up and go to a mango tree and look for those small mangoes that are even not yet. So it's relative. And it's even under the Act we say, oh, they have their obligations. So sometimes we go so much on their rights.
Yes.
But see, they also have an obligation. But like they said, the obligation for them to go to school and be obedient while at school. But a child to go to school on an empty stomach, unless he or she knows that at school they're going to give me something to eat.
Some porridge.
Some porridge. So that one, it will be easy for the child to fulfill that obligation. But just sending the child to school, and the child knows there's nothing for me to eat, who will pass by the gardens, people's homes, look for mangoes. By the time they reach school, it is midday.
Yes.
And then they get back.
Yeah.
So we have under the Children's Act those very good laws, the rights, the obligations, but also we have the buts. But
Yes, there's always a but somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So let's then switch gears, because we're discussing children's rights, but specifically in the context of COVID-19, which came and really, forced our government to do so many things, and most of them really had a bearing on children's rights. So I'll sort of start from that point. When you assess, when COVID-19 came, what are those actions that government of Uganda took generally, and then perhaps later we can discuss how those affected children's rights?
when COVID-19 came, I know the government was trying to protect its citizens, that's its work. Then it closed schools, it closed places of worship, and then there were no places of leisure, were also closed. And it brought all that. It was good. They wanted to protect everyone from COVID-19, prevent death. That's their work. And it has gone on. It's now 2 years. It's 2 years. For a child who has always gone to church every Sunday or been taken to the mosque.
I can notice your interest in church.
See, and then all of a sudden there is no going anywhere. They are stuck on the, let's say, the four walls.
Yes.
Inside the house, inside the gate, or within the compound. And then they cannot go swimming, they cannot go moving around with their friends, roaming. Okay, let me put in the village.
Playing even.
Playing.
Yeah.
You see, going to the other neighbor. This where it has brought a lot of
problems.
Mental.
Yeah. Let's go for a quick break at this point, and perhaps when we return back, we'll have a deeper conversation around the effects of COVID-19 on children. You're watching You and the Law, the COVID edition here on House of Talent Television. Today, we're discussing COVID-19 and how it has affected children's life. Right. Let's go for a quick break. We'll be right back.
When it comes to the law, we basically live the law, you know, on a day-to-day basis, you know. Whether it is in your bedroom, there is a law that governs it. If you're married, for example, even if you're single, there could be something touching on the law, because you might be in your bedroom with an underage girl, or you might be with another person's wife, you know. All the things are the law, you know.
If you're a human being, you have rights. Those rights are called human rights. They are examples: the right to health, the right to freedom from torture, that underscores human dignity, freedom from slavery. You're not supposed to be someone's slave.
If you look at our penal code, it sets out another marriage laws. It sets out the persons who can marry and those who cannot marry, right? For example, you can't marry your close relatives. You know, if you did, you'd be committing a crime.
The state is not supposed to tell you who to worship, how to worship, how many times a day. No, you have a right to work. The right to work, you have freedom of association.
Cohabitation for whatever period of time does not make you husband and wife, right? And that is why we emphasize to people that when the relationship is still hot, you know, you must ensure that you do what? Marry.
Yes.
You know?
For human rights to be respected, protected, and fulfilled, relevant government programs must actually work. Medicine should reach hospitals, oxygen should be there, health workers should have gloves, teachers should be present. Now they are mostly absent, and they have left the profession, a good number of them. They are into trading. So things must work. If things don't work, human rights are not respected, are not protected, and are not fulfilled.
COVID-19 has tested our hope and faith as individuals, families, and the country at large. Besides destroying many aspects of our lives, the novel coronavirus has also affected our human rights in many ways. You and the Law, the COVID edition, is a 30-minute weekly television program that focuses on the impact of COVID-19 on human rights in Uganda. The program engages experts to explain the importance of rights-based approaches to the success of any public health response to ensure the respect, protection, and fulfillment of human rights amidst the challenges presented by COVID-19. You and the Law, the television program, brought to you by Legal Hub Uganda, taking the law to the last mile in proud association with I4C Africa Hub and House of Talent Television, coming soon.
Welcome back. This is You and the Law, the COVID edition, here on House of Talent Television. My name is Jonathan Ochom, your host. Today we're discussing COVID-19 and how it has affected children's rights. And with me in studio is Ms. Sarah Awelo from the Uganda Christian Lawyers Fraternity, popularly known as UCLF, at least among the lawyers. So Sarah, welcome from the break.
Thank you.
Yeah. So before we went for the break, we started the conversation around COVID-19, the action that government took to curb down the virus, and how it has affected children. You started from the angle of education. I'm actually started from church, understandably, because you're from UCLF. So we could carry on the conversation around some of the other aspects that COVID-19 affected for children's rights.
Yes, for example, now when the schools were closed, and now the ones who are supposed to be in P1 have been in P1 for the last 2 years. There are children who have never stepped classes since the government closed. And you see, there's going to be a big difference between the children, like children from that village and this one's from the towns. Yes.
City.
So there's going to be, I'll see an imbalance. There will be something wrong with that generation. Okay, I don't know how to put it, but I think it will be like that because these ones, there are those who are studying, there are those who are not. There are those who can afford the private teachers at home, and there are these children who have been seated at home. I remember one time I was in Dokolo, and we asked the children, they came and told me, no, we can't understand English. We left those ones 2 years ago. And I'm like, okay. So I said, okay, can I give you a pen and you write your name? That, me, I forgot. You see? So there is that. And then when we come to the girl child, there are those ones who have gotten pregnant. Hey, it's a big number. Yeah. And I just thought, if 100 girls get pregnant, those are 100 people supposed to, 100 men or boys who are supposed to be in jail.
I didn't see that coming. Okay.
Yes. See, every time I see it in my mind, I'm like, I just hope I get like 100 of those ones. They should be in jail. That's how it should be. Then there are those early marriages. Parents who have married off their daughters. So those ones are supposed to be in jail somewhere. So sorry about that. They are supposed to be in jail. Why? Because they are not protecting these children.
They are actually committing criminal.
Yes, they are committing more offenses. So for me, as I see numbers of girls getting pregnant, I keep wondering, are also that same number or more in jail because of the crimes I've committed, you know, and then there are those ones of child-to-child sex, and in my head I'm like, have they cancelled those ones? But you see, in Uganda we don't have those counselling services. The probation officers are overwhelmed also. But again, who cares to go to the probation officer to report or ask their child, like, oh, come and counsel, my child has been going through this. I'll give an example. In Kayunga, one of the boys was arrested for defilement. So I meet with this girl. In Kayunga, we handled, our work is mainly like with the state attorney. So I meet with this girl. I ask her, we talk. And she was like, no, I just want him to be cautioned. I'm like, are you sure?
Wow.
You want him to be cautioned, and then you want to go back to the same group. It needs a mindset. It took me, took us like 3 hours talking to her. And then I told her, so what do you want to become? She actually wanted to become a teacher. I'm like, so now when you get pregnant, how will you become a teacher? Because you'll have a child to look after. But for him, he will have to continue with his education and what. After some thinking, he was like, I need him to be kept away for some time so that my mind can rest.
Yeah.
So we need a total, okay, what COVID has brought has destroyed the mindset of children. That's what I believe. And we need a change in the mindset of the children, that it doesn't matter when schools are closed, you can still get a book and read. But where will they get the books also from? The libraries,
are closed.
public libraries, do we even have them deep in the villages?
I mean, even in Kampala.
Even in Kampala,
yeah.
it's countable. And who goes there? Remember, there is no when they closed completely and not moving everywhere, who will walk to come and get a book for the child to read? So we've had, COVID has brought a lot of negativity, I would put it, in the lives of the children. There would have been some positive things if the parents were sensitized early enough on how to raise children even when schools are closed.
Yeah. Sarah, you raised very, very touching, stories, which I know you've picked in the course of your work, and it's really chilling if you ask me. But I want us to have a conversation around the measures that government put in place to curb down COVID-19, and I'll ask you, how child-friendly were those measures? What's your assessment of, so for example, you're hearing of distribution of food, you're hearing about online learning, you're hearing about all these things that they put in place. How child-friendly, or what's your evaluation of those interventions? Let's start with the positives. What do you think worked? Yes, what do you think worked?
There's a positive, like thank you for those innovations like online schooling, but seriously, if you look at somebody in Dokolo, that's my village, so I can talk, and I know I have. They don't even have radios.
The government, I think, tried to give some radios. I don't know if they reached
never
Dokolo.
reached.
Oh, okay.
I heard they were going to give radios. Where it died from, I don't know. But it didn't reach. Then they started saying they would distribute the books, like some books to schools and what. But did those books reach to the village? You see, there is the village school. Then there is the village school. You get?
Yeah.
Even in the village, there's a town and there's a
then
village.
There's a real village.
Yes. So there's that village school. Did it reach? Do those who don't even have clothes to put on, can they afford a smartphone? Can they sit and listen to UBC? Where will they get it from? I think it would have been, government would have just built a community place where children but that also would have stopped the COVID.
Exactly, social distancing
social
issues.
distance.
Yeah.
So if you look at food, food was distributed, they gave milk.
Okay.
But you see, that food will not take the children for long. Let's say you distribute that food to a mother of 8 or 5.
Even just 3.
Or even just 3. Would that food take them? It wouldn't take them for long. I think, COVID surprised everyone. And I know the government was trying its best to provide for its citizens, and it tried. But maybe we need proper structures in the communities. We need the LCs to give us proper structures in the communities to say these are the number of children we have in the community, but these are their age brackets. So that even when the government is providing something, food, it's providing things, like during the COVID times, it knows that in this particular community, we have this number of children, these are their age brackets. So let's say between 15 and 17 or 18, these ones, let's provide them with, apart from sugar and what, I think they need pads, or they need this. So the government tried, but it had some up and down.
You talked about, food, milk. I was about to ask you if some of your relatives in Dokolo benefited from it, but perhaps that can be a conversation for for another day. But Sarah, now you work a lot around juvenile justice, and I thought we could sort of pick your insights as well from the angle of juvenile justice. How did COVID affect that area? Because I know even before that, children already were having conflicts with the law. And like many people argue that COVID just came and worsened the situation. I don't know what your views you have, around that area.
The juvenile justice and children, the most children ended up going on the streets during this COVID time. They left school, they started looking for money. And I don't know how many will go back to school. We have parents bringing children to the organization for us to counsel them, because when they tried secondary, opened a bit the other time, the children didn't want to go back because now they were making money.
Oh, on the streets. On
the streets. Some of them, the parents took them to the garages to learn something, so they felt they have enough skills.
They've arrived.
They have arrived. They don't want to go back. And you find the parents crying, saying, let them go back for some medication and what. So there is that loophole going on that we need more guidance for the children at this particular time in this COVID-19. We are still in COVID-19 times. Yes, we are still in. And then what I've seen, there was a lot of violence in the homes and abuse in the homes. First of all, there was violence between the parents, but their escape route was school. When school got closed, they got entangled in the violence with the parents, and then they became the escape route.
Oh, for venting their anger.
Venting the anger. So they got all the pressure was thrown on them. They were beaten. When the mother again will blame, it's because of you, that's why I'm staying. So the child goes, no. Then the child is left. I remember one, Enoch, I won't give the other name, decided to even run away from home.
A child running away from home?
Yes, and he's 10.
Oh dear.
And then we had to counsel him. By the time we got him using police, he said for him he's tired of the work at home. It's routine. And he wants to also start going and playing with his peers. But the parents are saying, no, the peers go drinking and what, we don't want him to be a part of that.
Which is a fair point.
Which is a fair point. But I think for him, it's like, I'm tired of being in this thing. But
four corners.
Four corners. And he comes from his parents drink also a lot and what, so they leave him with all the work. So he said for him, he's tired of the work, he rather goes on the street and vent for himself.
Sarah, some of the stories you're sharing are, quite chilling. Viewers, you're watching You and the Law, the COVID edition here on House of Talent Television. Today we are discussing children's rights. How has COVID-19 affected the rights of children in Uganda? What do we need to do? How do we protect children further during these extraordinary times? Let's go for a quick break. When we return, we'll give a sneak peek into the future. How do we get out of the mess that we find ourselves now from the angle of protecting children? Let's go for a break. We'll be right back. Welcome back from the break. This is You and the Law, the COVID edition here on House of Talent Television with me, Jonathan Ochom. Today we are discussing children's rights and how they've been affected by COVID-19. And with me in studio is Sarah Awelo, lead counsel for the GBV program at the Uganda Christian Lawyers Fraternity. Sarah, welcome from the break.
Thank you.
So we need to sort of look into the future. You've clearly given us really chilling accounts of the different situations children find themselves in because of COVID-19 and the different initiatives that, that government has tried to do, as well as parents. Now we need to think about anything that could happen 5 or 10 years from now, because we're not sure when the virus will come to an end. We don't know if anything else could emerge in future. So as a country, that calls for preparation. So now I'll now ask you, looking at what the government of Uganda has done, what lessons do we learn from these interventions, from the angle of protecting children's rights? And perhaps later on we shall talk about recommendations. But what do you think we learn from our current intervention, our current experience trying to protect children amidst COVID-19?
What do we learn? We need everyone in the society to stand up, like to really get together and form a relationship. Doesn't matter the political party, whatever. We need to, religion, we need to first put away differences and come together and say we need to fight. We can't even fight COVID because we don't know much about it. But how do we protect people? Yes, they're saying immunization, but the children can't be immunized. And I was looking at children living with HIV, AIDS. During that lockdown, how were they getting their medication? It was hard. Then there were those children with cancer who were told to go back home. And then it is later that they started trying to get doctors on motorbikes to go and deliver the medication. But see, when there's a break in their medication, it brings more it brings more issues. And no one talked about the children who died during that time because of medication, not having medication in time and what, or who are fallen back in their things. So we need to learn to have a standby. We have to have community, maybe say there are paralegal, paramedics in the communities, and these paramedics should reach out to it should be in every parish, every village. We should have paramedics, so that if something happens like this in future, we have our paramedics already to reach out to children, children with disabilities, children living with HIV, AIDS, even the normal children when they fall sick. You see, moving you have to go and get permission first. But if we had paramedics in the villages, it would be so easy. We wouldn't have this fallback a lot. And then maybe we should, even the parents who are not dedicated, I know they can teach math somehow. They would teach in the local language. Math can be taught in the local language.
1 + 1.
With the stones and what. But maybe we should try and get teachers and pay them more on how to reach areas. They're saying paying the scientists, but also the art teachers. Because these art teachers are the ones going to teach English to the scientists.
And they need English to pass science.
They need English to pass science. So we need the art teachers also. But if we could pay them hard to reach area more money, just because they are in those communities, maybe build for them proper housing facilities, so that even when this happens, we have teachers who will go reach out to villages to see that the children are listening, or the children are studying at least twice a week. If a teacher appears before a child and they go through some of the it refreshes them and tells them, stay with this, next week I'll pass by. So we need that to keep people to reach out to stay in the communities.
What of in terms of juvenile justice, in terms of keeping children safe? From the law, ensuring that, you know, their rights, you talk about violence at the family level, you talked about environment and kind of things. How do we, in future, what do we need to do to ensure that if we find ourselves in this situation, this is how we shall protect children against sexual assault, for example?
We need to empower our local community, our LCs. And also first we need to empower the children. Do they know what the bad touch is? We were just trying to teach them before they went to lockdown. Where do they go? Do they know where to go to? Most of them are threatened after defilement. They're told, don't speak, or else we'll kill you, we'll kill your family. Then some of them, like this one who said, I was told to go, and they told him, you stand outside, we are going to give you a TV. But these thieves were coming to rob the grandmother.
Oh dear.
But they told him, we shall give you a TV where you'll watch every day. You don't have to ask permission or what. So they entered in the house for him. He stood to see that no one comes in. And then in the process, they killed the grandmother.
Oh.
So it was during the burial that he kept saying, but this one was the last to, these people entered in the house. Then they said grandmother has died. So they're like, how did you know? So he gives the story. So he was arrested and told to go and tell these other people, take us to these people. So all the other co-accused were arrested. And maybe he was charged with murder.
Oh, the child?
Yes, because he was in the whole chain. But he couldn't understand it, you know. But, and he kept saying, most of them will call you auntie. Auntie, I didn't do it. I'm like, yes, you didn't do it. I didn't kill. I'm like, yes, you did. It is those ones, they entered. But if we could empower our children and tell them that they have this obligation. Yes, they have the rights, but they have the obligation. They have obligations to respect the society, respect their children. They have obligation to do work at home. They have, we have something we expect from them, even if we are giving them rights. So that they grow up knowing it's not about watching TV throughout. You have to also do something. Maybe that would help them. Not so that people do not sweet talk them. How are we talking to our daughters? How are we training our daughters? Will somebody give them, say, if you come and I do this to you, or I touch your breast, I will give you 500. And it's a coin, a 500 coin. And most of them can say, and you gave me a 500 coin to keep quiet. Or after being defied, it comes and say, they gave me 1,000. Is there a way we can teach them about value? How do they value themselves from young? You see, a child gets to understand from the time they are born. That's why they cry when they are hurt. So we need to teach value to the children from when they are young. But value is got if the person teaching them also has value. So that the parents have value to pass over. So should the government also. So we need to empower the local council to empower the community. We need to empower the religious leaders to empower the community. We also need to empower the witch doctors, the herbalists, and teach them, because you said they are the ones who when somebody is arrested, they will say, the witch doctor told me if I sleep with a girl, my problems will be solved. So if we teach these witch doctors that the law says if they ever get you, if you're arrested, like even for sacrifice, child sacrifice, you will be penalized, you'll be held for murder, you'll go in for life. This is what the law says. There's a way they will trick. They will start telling the person, your problems will be done, let me put something on your hands, and then you go and work. The person
playing with your mind.
They just play with their minds and go. I had an opportunity to talking to a witch doctor.
Okay. You're seeking their services.
We were sensitizing.
Oh, okay.
And you see in Kayunga, they are so proud to come and say how they are witch doctors because they are really respected in the community.
Yes.
So I said, okay. So we kept talking, and then I told him, but now instead of giving these women who come and complain about their husbands, or the husbands come and complain about their women. So he says for him what he does, he gets, it's a herb, it's actually a herb, and then he tells them when he starts quarreling, you put it in your mouth and bite it. So the lady keeps biting, so she doesn't reply to the quarrels. Then the man keeps quiet. And then she'll start saying, oh, my husband actually changed, he stopped quarreling. But she doesn't know, it's because she did not answer back, so there was no one to...
There was no need for a fight.
There was no need for a fight, you know. So if we need also to empower them, the herbalist, the... You see how Mama Fina tries to help out, but if we empower her with the law, how much
information
more?
on the law.
Yeah, information on the law. Then she empowers her people. You know, so many people follow her. So we need to get those people who are the community blessed, like the community look up to.
Yeah. You mentioned about the child, you know, being charged with a criminal offense, and I thought perhaps we'll take advantage of your presence to talk about criminal responsibility for children, because there's always emphasis on rights, like you correctly said, but also to know for children to know that you have responsibilities even during COVID-19. You could just run up through about, you know, what's the law on,
the law
criminal
on children's
responsibility. At 5 years, do they become...
No. When when it's 12 years and when they're less than 12 years, from 11, they are not they are not criminally liable.
Okay.
But
so you can do anything in that age.
But you see there, we can get the LC to beat. I don't believe you just do something as a child and you walk away with it.
Yes.
No. But from 12, they are criminally liable, and they can be arrested. They're taken to the remand homes, and we have remand homes all over Uganda.
Yes.
And the main one means Camp Pinipis. That's how they pronounce it. It's long.
Yeah. Is that on the Masaka Highway?
Yes.
Yeah.
So they are taken there, and they are taken. They are taught. They are taught on vocational training, making wood, tools, but they're trained from that side. Now they're taken to the remand home at Naguru, where they're also taught, but they are liable, but they also need to know that. So if we also teach them that from 12 years, we shall really jail you in the children's jail. If you misbehave, then there is also, I think they will also change their behavior. But also these ones below 12, like from 11 downwards. May I believe a child will understand. We will not be like whites all the time and say you're going to be taken to a punishment corner and stand there. No, I think a few 2 sticks will get the person. Even the Bible says spare the rod and spoil the child. So we will not allow sparing the rod, because what? As I started, we want our children are the future of our nation. So we are not going to let them get away with anything, but we shall stick, as the Bible says, spare the rod, spoil the child.
Yes.
No, we are going to see that they are all brought up in a godly manner, whereby in the future we shall have less corruption.
They're indeed the future.
Yes. If they have less corruption, they know the law. Yes.
Sarah, as we come to the end of this show, just as sort of your final concluding remarks, and how do we then get out of this mess as a country in 30 seconds?
How do we get out of this mess?
Protect children, yes.
And protect children. We all have to come together.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter about your religion, your party, your what. Come together. Let us see in each of our neighborhood who is a teacher in the neighborhood. We need to be the eyes of the parents in the neighborhood. Let us go back to saying it takes a village to raise a child.
Okay.
Don't let somebody's child be doing something wrong and you just say that's not my child. Take responsibility.
Okay, Sarah makes a very compelling point. We should take responsibility. We have to protect children during COVID-19 by following the law, empowering people with information so that they know that an extraordinary time like the pandemic is not an opportunity for you to exploit children, but rather to actually protect their rights. With that, we've come to the end of today's edition of You and the Law. I've been your host, Jonathan Ochom. Next week, we'll have another conversation on yet another human right which has been affected by the virus. Until then, bye.
Welcome to this year's edition of Doa Doa 2021.
We have revived the King's Entenga music.
I started playing music when I was 9 years old in 1945, and up to today, I'm still learning it.
People at the moment are struggling to understand the older generation because times have changed. Technology has come in.
They've moved on.
Yes.
We're the ones sitting back and wondering, what is my child on to? TikTok has surpassed WhatsApp. The other one I call, I never call it Facebook, it's Bookface. Why are you on Bookface? Dad, it's Facebook.
Yes.
Me, I keep saying, I have a foot amongst the millennials.
Yeah.
And I understand the traditionalists.
Okay.
There's a song in the 60s, by the way, and in the 90s, 70s, where they're like, parents don't understand.
Yes.
Remember Prince?
Yes.
Prince.
So as we come to the end of the show, what word do you have for barristers out there? Because like we said earlier, you won't be a barrister at 70, okay? What can these barristers do to make themselves more relevant in the coffee chain and the coffee process, and also more relevant for their lives going ahead?
Okay, I usually meet barristers and I'll tell them you're going to be active for 10 years maximum. You know, if you stretch it, 20 years. But you can, graduate yourself first. You've learned barrister, basic barrister, add more skills, but also advance to maybe quality control. Because if you do R or Q grading, then you can get a job in a private farm or a coffee exporting or a coffee processing farm. That's one plus. Another thing, if you're a barista who has a background in agriculture, you can work backwards, switching back to your profession. It's going to be good if you applied for a job, let's say quality control, and you're a barista, you have studied R or Q, and you also know some coffee agronomy. Definitely they will take you. Also, you're going to be better than someone who has studied quality control but is not a barista, because every employee wants a bigger package of you at the same price. So the thing is, if you're a barista, you're 40 years, you've overstretched to maybe 40, 45, please learn Q or R. UCD has free
You know, these are free courses. I'm not speaking for UCD, but they are free. R&Q grading, they are free. You stand a chance to get a job in the coffee industry, in growing or processing farm. But another thing, we have some people we are with who have a background in agriculture or biotechnology. I know some who have switched back to research. And again, they stand a higher chance. Because if I applied for a job with the counterpart who is just an agriculture expert, but I'm also a barista expert. I know some basic of quality control. Then I stand higher chances. And I'm going to get a job. I know guys who have done that. Done barista, then switched back to research. And they're doing amazing things. Because also the researchers don't know how good coffee is. They are preparing it, but then they don't know that you can make a mocha, latte, and you can make all these variations. It's also helping the research industry. When I was, still in coffee research, as an intern, our director by then banished instant coffee. He was a new director. He was like, guys, we are a coffee research institute. Why are we taking instant coffee? Like, come on, guys. And not just instant coffee, imported instant coffee. Dude, you people should be taking the best coffee because you make it. You've earned it. Now, they have an espresso machine. They brew. They're enjoying. You see? But to bring that vibe, it takes someone who understands coffee beyond the bean to, bring that vibe. Now they're happy people. They were like, man, I didn't know that my variety tastes this good. Because most probably the guy has made the variety and has not been drinking it. So that's the vibe. And I know guys who are changing, the research world also. They are baristas. They have gone back to research. The baristas, but they have gone into, because even private companies want researchers. They want agronomists. The whole thing is, if you have gone into the coffee industry, you may not understand everything, but try to understand the basics of coffee from the seedling beyond the bean. Even the market metrics. Especially the market metrics. It's important to understand the market dynamics. The biggest thing in the market dynamics right now, Brazil was hit bad by hailstorms and frost. It's a plus to us.
It gives us an opportunity
it's an opportunity for us.
Slide in there somewhere.
The smart guy, when Brazil was hit by frost, should have bought more coffee. Because actually there's a coffee crisis. It's projected that 3 years from now there's going to be a coffee crisis. If you can buy coffee, buy it as much as you can because it's going to be high. Sorry for the Brazilians.